How did you first get into the roofing business?
Well, it was a complete accident, to be honest. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever be in roofing. It had never even crossed my mind until the day that I got into the roofing industry back in 1998.
Ooh,
And what I was doing was prior to this, I used to run a drywall crane and I was delivering sheets of drywall into commercial buildings and also into homes. And I guess I must have had a bad day. It was a Friday, and I was on my way home, and I apparently I must have been in a bad mood or something. And I don't really remember the details about it because it's so long ago. But I was driving home, and as I looked over to the side, I saw a sign for a roofing supply company that was hiring drivers. And for whatever reason, I decided at that moment to cut the wheel to the right, pull into the parking lot. I went in, applied for the job, and I got hired. And here we are 27 years later. So
yeah.
I did something that I could do for a little bit longer, and I had a hernia from the other job, so I didn't
Ooh,
want to do that anymore. And it was just a amazing opportunity for me that I never saw coming.
wonderful. Well, I know there's a lot to your story, including resurrecting a business with basically that was basically out of operation. Can you share what that was like and how you turned it around?
Yeah, it was actually another one of these opportunities that kind of presented itself, and I wasn't expecting it. I didn't see it coming until the day it happened. And basically I partnered up with some guys. I've relocated multiple times. I grew up in Ohio. I moved to North Carolina for a few years. I actually opened a roofing supply company there that I managed. I left there. I came to Texas. I sold roofs for a company for about 7 years. And then back in 2019, a couple of buddies and I got together and joined their company. Wasn't sure what capacity I was going to be a part of their company in at that stage, but I got with them, and a couple months in, we sat down at dinner, and they basically said, "Hey, we want to buy a company that's out of business down in San Antonio, and we want you to run it. What do you think?" And honestly, Deanna, that day, that was the first time I'd ever even considered San Antonio, Texas as a destination. Never crossed my mind once in my entire life. And I basically just said, yeah, let's do it. That sounds fun. The company was out of business. The gentleman that had it before us didn't succeed with it, and we were able to get a pretty good deal for a company that had some history. It was about 5 years old at that point, and had a decent online reputation. So we bought the logo, the brand, all the equipment, and I relocated myself down here to San Antonio. I had never been to San Antonio before the day that I got here to take up permanent residency. So it was one of those deals where I hoped that it was a nice place, and it ended up being awesome. I'm still here and having a great time with it. But going into a town where you'd never been, no connections, no family, no friends, no network, and an out of business roofing company was quite the adventure. And
For sure.
we did
Yeah,
it. It was fun.
yeah, and the Ohio North Carolina landscape completely different from even the landscape. So all that you had to learn new. So let me ask you. So there has to be something in the mindset for that listener maybe out there that's thinking, how did you come about seeing opportunity? There has to be something in our mindset to be open to that opportunity, to see that opportunity and take that steering wheel and make that move. What do you think that is in you that has you open for those?
Well, I just have a sense of adventure and I like to do new things and challenges. To me, when you get an opportunity from being a truck driver to go open a branch in North Carolina, why wouldn't you say yes? I mean, I'd be driving a truck still to this day, 12 plus years after the fact, had I not. And I just wanted to do something different. I felt like I had different skills that weren't being displayed in that original role. So I did that. Same thing when I came down here. I started selling roofs for a roofing company. And after about 7 years, I decided that I wanted to do something more, something bigger. I've known a lot of people in my industry after being in it for over, a quarter of a century now, which is crazy to believe. I've met a lot of people through my podcast. I've met a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, and I was basically told that I was handpicked for this opportunity by one of my mentors who was also working with that company. So
Uh-huh.
to me, it was a great compliment. And I thought, well, if
Sure,
y'all
yeah.
believe in me, then I'm going to do it because why not?
Why
I didn't have
not?
to invest any money. I just had to put my time and energy into it. The money aspect was taken care of by
Well, you can't
my
beat that.
partners. Yeah. So I thought, heck,
Yeah.
it's a good story. We took a business that was out and we built it back up. We had multiple locations, and then life kind of happens. Some things started changing, and back in 2023, we ended up having to shut it down voluntarily. Um, and then came back a couple months after that. I bought it from my former partners and reopened it again, and here we are. It's
Yeah.
been a crazy ride that I never would have expected. And I tell people, you don't know too many people that take one company that's out of business and resurrect it, but you definitely don't know too many that take it, resurrect it, kill it again, and then resurrect it a second time. So I like
So
to think that my story is just interesting in that, maybe I'm just not smart
absolutely.
enough to understand that I shouldn't be doing this stuff or that it shouldn't work.
Practically scratch. I mean, they had killed it already when you bought it.
Yeah,
It
and
was
I did
dead.
this twice when I moved to North Carolina. It was different because it was pre-internet kind of social media age. I went down there and we were doing something different. We were actually targeting roofing contractors and selling them the materials. But when I came down here to San Antonio, totally different.
Yeah.
We were selling roofs to homeowners, to commercial property owners, to property managers and such. And I didn't know anybody. I literally got here and I had nowhere to go. I lived in my office for the first 2 months because I didn't know if it was in a good neighborhood. I didn't really understand the landscape of San Antonio or, want to put
Right.
myself in a bad spot. So I lived in my office for 2 months, which was kind of a interesting scenario in its own.
Yeah.
And basically what I did is since I had no contacts, I didn't know a human being
Yeah.
one.
No networking.
None.
Yeah.
I went to social media and I used Facebook basically to build my base. I went and I typed in San Antonio and I just started requesting friendship to everybody that was on there from San Antonio. And I got about 1,500 people that accepted that, which was crazy. But I started
Wow.
pushing my stuff out there. Hey, I'm a roofing contractor. We're here in San Antonio. We're, A plus rated. We've got all this great stuff going. I've got a wonderful organization backing me. I'm experienced and I want to earn your business. And I literally got my first couple jobs based off of social media posts from random people that I friend requested, and they let me infiltrate their social media. And, it was never about business. It was always a personal thing that I would put up. Like the first customer I got was because I went to one of my crew members' birthday party and I posted a picture of that. And he thought that was cool and said, hey, you know what? If you have that kind of relationship with your crew, I don't know too many people in your industry that do that.
Good
Maybe
point.
you're a pretty good guy and I'd like to do business with you.
Yeah.
And it really just kind of it took off from there. It was a little bit of a slow build. The first couple months were pretty slow, but once it started rolling,
Uh-huh.
it never really stopped. And that was kind of the whole way I did it was social media. And to this day, I use social media for the vast
Yeah.
majority of my promotion of my business and my personal brand.
Yeah. So why do you think it never stopped?
Well, once
What
we
was the
get
catch?
going, I mean, I'm one of those people that's kind of in your face, and I make a lot of video content. I make a lot of content for social media. I just kept putting it out there saying, hey, we just helped this homeowner. Here are some of the things that we saw. Here are some of the things that concern me about what I see. And, if you want someone that has this kind of knowledge and understanding of the roof systems that can keep you from having the problems that my clients are having, I'd love to do it. And it just started snowballing and it just
Yeah.
kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we started investing a little bit in other forms of advertising, but that social media push was really the beginning. And to this day, I still use it constantly. I did a post for my roofing company 5 minutes before we came on today. And,
Yeah.
it's just been great.
So let's talk about lessons learned. What were some of the biggest challenges during those transitions, and how did you overcome them?
Well, there were
Besides
quite a
being in
few.
the office for 2 months.
Well, that was the fun part, but like coming down to San Antonio was a different experience because, like you said, it is a different climate than Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North
Terrain,
Carolina.
everything. Yeah.
I was in College Station, Texas prior to that, and it's completely different than there. So when I came down, I had to kind of adapt. And the first person that I met here for an actual roof replacement, I knew I was going to be okay because we met, and almost immediately the guy said, "If you can't do my roof for free, then you're not going to do my roof." And basically, that was telling me, okay, everybody in San Antonio is committing insurance fraud to get business. I told him, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not the right guy for you. And I started walking away and I said, I wish you the best, but anybody that does anything for free, just realize you get what you pay for. And if you pay for nothing, you have no right to complain if it's not good. And I
Right.
pointed out several deficiencies on his roof and I said, look, you're going to have to pay your deductible because it's the law. I'm a law abiding contractor. I registered with the
Right.
city. I had to do a background check with the FBI.
Sure.
I'm not here to commit fraud. I'm not here to commit, any kind of crime. And I think it really stuck with them because they didn't realize, number one, that it was a crime, but all the other roofers were offering to do this job for free. You're not going to have to pay your $1,500. We'll just absorb it into the cost and we'll bill the insurance and whatever the shady things that people do to make that happen were. It
Yeah.
was nothing that I was interested in doing, and I came in
Yeah.
with that mindset of I'm not going to waver off of my morals, my ethics. The way that I understand how to do this is the right way. I provide the most value. I'm never the cheapest.
No.
And that guy, after 15, 20 seconds, tell me if it wasn't free, I wasn't getting the job. 20 minutes later, he signed a contract. He paid for full upgrades. He got a better roof. He got his chimney repaired. He paid the
My
full deductible,
goodness.
and everybody was happy. And I realized, okay, I've got what it takes to make this happen. I just have to
Yeah.
find the right people because not everybody's going to agree with that. Some people are just going to say, well, whatever, it's free. I don't care. As long as
Right.
I'm not paying, I don't care how good or bad it is. And
Right.
I realized quickly those were not my people. So we had to kind of shift the demographic that we were working with from what the previous company was working with. They had marketed to a lot of people that were not willing to pay for quality. They were looking for cheap. And that's exactly why the company went out of business. They had to always fight to be the bottom guy, to be the lowest price, and they didn't make
Right.
enough money to keep the doors open. So
Yeah.
if I wanted it to succeed, if I wanted it to do well, I had to realize these are the people that I don't want to work with. The folks that I do want to work with are over here in this category. And I focused all my attention on the ones that I wanted. And my second client was absolutely the perfect one. He had a huge roof. We did the roof. He gave me 6 rental properties to do as well.
Oh
So
my
I
goodness.
realized pretty quickly if you focus on your specific demographic, who you want to work with, and you don't waver off of that, and you don't compromise your beliefs just to get a dollar, it might take a minute and it might be slow, but once it starts rolling, those
Yeah.
people refer themselves, they refer you to their friends, to their family. And as we all know, people that stick
Yeah.
together tend to act the same or similar. And it just kind of worked out that way to where I got a couple really good clients right out of the gate, and they started giving me referrals to their friends and family. And I wasn't reliant upon having to be the cheapest bid, and I've never been. So
Right.
that was the biggest lesson that I learned when I got here is it was a shock because everybody was looking for the cheapest thing, but then I realized not everybody was, just the people that had been targeted previously. And if we could
Absolutely.
change it, we're good to go.
How do you feel that you made that target move to change that clientele?
Well, we literally just stopped taking appointments from certain locations around town where there was that mentality of it needing to be the cheapest thing. I had quite a few property managers that I reached out to, and a lot of them said, well, unless you're the cheapest thing, I can't use you. You have to be investor friendly. And I realized there's a market for that if you're willing to lose money to do business. And if your idea of success is just, hey, I'm doing 3 or 4 jobs a week, I'm making a couple dollars here or there, and I'm able to put gas in the car.
But
But
that's
for
not
me, it was
hard.
more like, let's find the elite people. And then we started a targeted ad campaign into these specific areas. And we just started developing that relationship with those types of folks. And, like I said, if someone's got 9 or 10 rental properties and they live in $1 million home, I like to do business with them. And I just had to go find those people, which it didn't take long, really. It was kind of a cool thing with technology being what it is
Kind of
nowadays. You can
snowballs,
target
yes.
things pretty well. And
Yeah.
we just took advantage of the resources. And I guess maybe not being from here and not having that mentality really did help. Because you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people, they don't realize that you can ask more money. They feel like everybody's got to be the cheapest. And I had some sales reps that I brought on that had that mindset that we had to shift a little as well. And once we shifted their mindset and the way that they thought about it, they became stellar. And some of them have gone out and started their own businesses since then. They were very successful in sales, probably more so than they ever thought possible when they started. So
Yeah.
it's all just about the way that you think. It's about believing in yourself and
It
believing that you're the
is.
best option. And I tell people right out of the gate, I will not be the cheapest
I
person you
told
talk
every
to.
client of mine, I'm going to tell you before we even get started, save you and me both plenty of time. I'm not going to be the cheapest, and I want you to go find somebody else's quote. And then I'm going to show you probably number one, we're not comparing apples to apples. And
Never.
number two, that there's a lot more that I offer than what's going to be in their estimate. But anyway, so and it did. I mean, people were a whole lot more willing to, come up with the price that I quoted because of several reasons there. And one being that, trying to, you say, yeah, you can market to those that are looking for that discounted price, but man, that's a hard job. That's asking for burnout. That is, they seem to be the ones that you can't please. I'm sorry, but you just can't make them happy. I don't care how much you try. It's,
That is so true. And I have a great example. The cheapest roof that I ever did in my entire career was the one that gave me the most problems. And I understood that it was because they didn't value money the same way that the other folks did. And they always say someone with a $500 project is going to be harder to deal with than someone with a $50,000. The 50,000 understands it. They give you the money, they value your time, your energy, and your effort. The other
your
people, they look at
knowledge.
it as, I'm doing you a favor. I'm giving you $500. And in order for that to happen, you need to give me this and this and that. And oh, this isn't right. And I didn't pay for that. And this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
And it is very intimidating sometimes if you're not experienced. And I dealt with that through my previous career when I was selling roofs for another company. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity because I kind of made some mistakes there that I didn't have to really pay a huge educational fee for.
Yeah.
And whatever your perception is your reality. And I've got a gentleman that works with me now. He was in the labor trade for 30 years. And I wanted to help him become a sales rep. And we started going through this together where I would ask him, how much would you charge for this job? Just to see what he would say.
Yeah.
And it was usually a third of what we would typically end up charging the clients. And I'd say,
Yeah.
well, you need to charge more. You need to charge. Well, I don't know that they'll pay for that.
Oh
And I don't
gosh,
know
I
that
hear
they
that
will.
all the time. Oh, I'm afraid I'll lose everybody. I'm afraid they'll go get this person or go get that person. I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? If you lose them, you didn't really lose anything because you never had it to begin with. And
True.
if they are going to nickel and dime you over the small stuff, even though you're the best option, you're actually being done a favor when they go with someone else,
That
and
is really
it can
true.
become someone else's problem.
Absolutely. And no more headache for you. Good
That's
point.
right. It's hard to get to that phase though. You have to go through
Oh,
a little bit
yeah.
of suffering and you have to realize if you lose a job, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's the best thing that can happen. And you
That's
just have to
true.
go through those, getting your teeth kicked in a few times before you realize I can get back up. And as soon
Yeah.
as you figure out what you need to be and where you need to be, and you can say it with confidence, then everything changes.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite sayings is if you think you can't or if you think you can, either one, you're right. I don't think I
Absolutely.
said that exactly right, but yeah, whatever you're telling yourself, you're right. And it's absolutely about mindset. Okay, so you're known for being high energy and positive. How do you maintain that high energy mindset when things get tough?
Energy drinks. No, I'm just kidding. I
Please
do.
no.
I I like to think positively because in other generations of my life, I have not been so positive. And I
Mm.
look back over the years and I think to myself how much stress I put on my own self just by feeling negative about a situation or looking at the what can go wrong type aspect instead of what could go right. And really, what happened was a few years ago, went through the loss of a parent. And in that
Mm.
moment, I was actually taught the best lesson I've ever been taught in my life, which
Mhm.
was life is short.
Yeah.
If you
Yes.
stress yourself out, you're gonna have probably a shorter life than even if you do everything the right way. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you have to stop and realize that nobody really cares. You think all these things are conspiring against you, and all these people are hating on you, and all these
Out to
people want to
get
see you
you.
fail. At the end of the day, everybody's worried about themselves for the majority, and
Yeah.
anyone that's got time to hate on other people are not doing enough, and they're probably going to typically be below where you are anyway. So why would you try to impress those folks? And once I realized that, I just made a commitment to myself and I said, okay, I want to handle stress a lot better than I have. I don't want to be high strung. I want to see things in a positive way because
Yeah.
negativity just makes things worse. If you've got a huge problem and you're negative about it, guess what? It gets way bigger. If you go
Yeah.
to a homeowner's house and their roof is blowing off and you say, oh, hey, I've seen this before, it's no big deal, you can kind of calm them down as well. And I realized that's a much better way to go about things as far as life goes and just in general, you can see the good or the bad. And like you say, whatever one you see, you're right.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just see things from a positive standpoint because it just seems like life is much more enjoyable that way.
It is. Lots more happiness in it and lots less burnout. So what is your daily routine or habit that helps keep you stayed focused and energized?
Well, I have a pretty good routine that I do. Like this morning, I got up at 3 a.m. and I do that every single morning, even on
Woo.
weekends. And I typically 5 days a week, I'll go to the gym and I have a very defined workout routine that I like to do. I set goals for myself. Like last month, my goal was that I was going to go out after the gym, I do a morning walk and I was going to do 200 miles of morning walks last month, which I ended up doing 246. It was
Woo!
pretty good month. It was over
Wow,
eight
that's
eight miles
impressive.
plus a day.
Wow, that's
And
great.
it's one of those things where about 5 years ago I was in pretty bad shape and I
Uh-huh.
got an invite to speak at an event and they made those little hero card things that's got your face on it and you could put it out on social media and I didn't recognize myself. My face looked like a basketball. It was just big
Oh.
and large and round.
Oh.
And that day I was like, you know what? I got to make a difference. I got to make a change because I kind of let myself get complacent. I went for a walk this morning. I had to take my car to the auto shop yesterday, so I don't have a car.
Oh,
And I
no.
was like, well, I'm going to go outside. I'll just go for a walk. And I did, 6+ miles. And in that time, I thought about what I was going to do today. I'd always kind of toyed with it. And maybe a year or two prior, I was a guest on a podcast for the first time. And I had a great time with it. It was someone that I really looked up to. I was honored that I got the invitation to be on there and I enjoyed the experience.
Oh,
So I
it's
kind of
fun.
planted a seed in the back of my mind.
Uh-huh.
And I was always kind of a big fan of radio when I was growing up. And it does help with my career as well because I'm more comfortable talking to folks. Conversations go a lot smoother, I've noticed. And it's actually helped me cut my sales process down because I listen a lot more than I talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they say that's the key is
Yep.
to just ask pertinent questions and then back off and just let them talk.
Yep.
So, what one piece of advice would you share that you think every business owner should hear? That one big thing.
Well, there are quite a few. And for me, it's been quite a transformation because I told you about how we bought the company and we killed it and we bought it again.
Yeah,
This
you
second,
said killed it. I'm sorry, let me interrupt you there just a minute. Explain killed it. Like that might be very confusing to the listener. It is to me.
we shut it down. It went out of business again. We voluntarily closed the company and went our separate ways.
Oh, okay.
And
Kind
I
of like
came back a
a
few months
dissolve.
later and yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I started from scratch again. This time I've got a couple different partners. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned this time around is to understand your strengths and weaknesses
Ooh,
and
yeah.
double down on your strengths and minimize the stuff that you're not good at. And for the first year of this business being back, in its current configuration, I was trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at paperwork. I'm not good at financial stuff. I understand this. I'm more of a personality. I'm great at sales. I'm great at doing production and being out there talking to the homeowners and making them smile and laugh. But then it comes back to, okay, you have to file the warranties, you have to get
Oh,
permits, you have to pay all the bills, you have
yeah.
to make sure all this stuff's done. And I'm not good at that. So at first it was kind of tough, but we took on another partner a couple months ago who is exactly opposite of me when it comes to that. He's very detail oriented, has a background in finance, understands all the things that need to happen. And ever since we partnered up, my life has gotten so much more simple and it's been so much more enjoyable because I was focusing way too much energy on things that I wasn't good at and I wasn't going to get good at. And to me, if you're starting a company, I definitely understand there are going to be times where you have to wear all the hats. If you're a
Sure.
small business, you have to do it that way until you can grow into a place where you can get people to come on with you and kind of, take some of that delegate to their strengths.
Yes.
But the quicker you can do that, the better it is.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned is life got so much better when I realized I wasn't good at this. I accepted the fact and I found someone that was, and I put them in the position to where they could work to their strengths and then I could work to mine. And now we're much better than we ever were before. And if you're doing business, that is the number one thing. Get away from the stuff that wastes your time, the stuff that you're not as productive as you could be with, and the stuff that basically is kind of hold you in place as
Yeah.
quick as possible. Do it. Just jump in and have confidence in yourself, right?
Dive right
You
in.
have to believe.
You do have to believe. Yeah. Okay, so how can the listener today, like, take a lesson from here and put it into their already existing business? What would that lesson be?
Well, I think the same lesson that we just talked about. I think you need to sit down and take a look at what you're doing in your business. They always say work on your business rather than in your business. And sometimes it just requires you to take a day where you just sit down and say, okay, strengths, weaknesses, put them on paper, look at them and
Yeah,
recognize, okay, I need to put these in rank of importance and the level of productivity that I can provide to them. And then you cut half of that list out and you find someone to help you.
yeah,
And the quicker you can do it, the better off you're going to be. So I think if you're feeling stuck right now, it's probably that point where you're ready to take that next step to grow your company to scale, but
yeah,
you can't do it yourself. I always tell folks, sales reps that start their own roofing companies, well, what are your goals? I want to do $3 million in sales. Okay, what's your best year that you ever did as a sales rep? Oh, 600,000. Well, how are you going to get to 3 million if you don't know how to get to 3 million? You need to bring people along with you that can get you there. And I think that
yeah.
that is the biggest lesson for anybody in business is don't let yourself get weighed down too long because everybody around you that's continuing to move forward will bypass you and you'll lose a lot of your momentum throughout that process. So
You will, and you'll lose that organic momentum. Where should my listeners find you and follow you to get more information?
oh, well, I'm all over the place. I always tell my homeowners if you just type in Chuck Allen roofing, like I show up as the Chuck Allen in the roofing world. I'm the authority. But you can check me out on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, probably like 4 or 5 other ones that I don't even know about. And basically Chuck Allen, some of them have a number behind them, but if you see this face, you'll know that's the guy. And I always encourage people to follow because, it's good for my algorithm, but I also think that I do bring some value to people. And
Yeah.
I love interacting and I love meeting new folks. So if you're listening to today's episode, follow me on Facebook or Instagram and just reach out and say hi. And we can follow each other's journey moving forward.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, listeners, don't forget to check him out. Remember, this is more than a podcast. This is your platform. Your story matters. Let's amplify your voice with purpose. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time on The Builder's Edge. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was so